Meghan Markle's ex-husband just revealed the shocking truth. Meghan planned her royal takeover years before she even met Harry. In a bombshell Netflix tell-all, Trevor Engelson exposes a jaw-dropping revelation that will leave you speechless. According to him, Meghan Markle was meticulously plotting her path to the British royal family long before she ever crossed paths with Prince Harry. From researching royal protocols to targeting the elite circles, Meghan had her eyes set on royalty, even joking about becoming Princess Diana 2.0. Why does this matter? Because it could change everything we thought we knew about her royal ambitions, and the entire royal family could be reeling from these revelations. Stay tuned as we uncover the truth behind Meghan's royal master plan. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Prince Harry sat stunned, eyes locked on the flickering screen in his Montecito mansion, heart racing and throat tightening. He hadn't expected this day to come, not this way, not with this level of betrayal, and certainly not from the man whose life had once intimately intertwined with his wife's. The man speaking from the Netflix special was none other than Trevor Engelson, Meghan Markle's ex-husband, a Hollywood producer whose marriage to Meghan had quietly dissolved long before her fairy tale entry into the British monarchy. Yet here Trevor was, composed and articulate, systematically revealing secrets Harry never imagined existed. Trevor's voice echoed throughout the luxurious Californian room, each syllable landing like a punch to Harry's gut. She planned it all along, years before she met you, Harry. It was never about love, it was about ambition. Engelson's revelation sent ripples through Harry's world, breaking the fragile peace he had painstakingly rebuilt after fleeing his royal duties for America. Harry had traded Buckingham Palace for the Californian coastline to protect Meghan from scrutiny and cruelty. But now, ironically, the deepest wound was being inflicted by a voice from Meghan's own past. Netflix had titled the special Trevor Engelson, Behind the Royal Veil, an intentionally provocative documentary designed to ignite controversy and dominate headlines around the globe. Within minutes of its release, social media erupted, and media outlets raced to dissect each incendiary claim. But for Harry, who had once believed wholeheartedly in the authenticity of Meghan's love, the damage felt profoundly personal, cutting deeper than mere tabloid fodder. Engelson detailed a meticulously laid-out strategy he alleged Meghan had devised long before she crossed paths with Harry. He painted a portrait of Meghan as not merely ambitious but calculatingly methodical. Trevor recounted how Meghan had frequently joked during dinner parties about becoming Princess Diana 2.0, gleefully embracing a role she had seemingly scripted for herself long before fate presented the opportunity. The mere mention of Diana, Harry's cherished late mother, triggered an ache in him, a raw, unhealed wound exploited publicly for dramatic effect. Throughout the Netflix special, Engelson made several precise claims. He described Meghan diligently researching royal protocols, etiquette classes taken discreetly, and strategic social climbing efforts targeting London's elite circles long before her official introduction to Prince Harry. The notion that Meghan's ascension into the royal family was anything less than organic was a devastating blow to Harry, undermining his understanding of their entire relationship. While the documentary unfolded, Harry found himself replaying moments from their early courtship, now tainted by Engelson's stark revelations. The sweet moments, shared laughter, whispered promises, were suddenly clouded with suspicion. Had Meghan truly calculated every affectionate gesture? Could the tenderness in her eyes, the sincerity he saw, have been part of a carefully curated facade? Engelson's words had ignited a tormenting doubt in Harry that now threatened to overshadow even his happiest memories. As the Netflix special gained traction, its impact became seismic, not just within the confines of Harry's private life, but reverberating through the heart of the British monarchy itself. Buckingham Palace's silence was deafening, its refusal to comment only adding to speculation that the revelations held a significant grain of truth. In the British media, headlines exploded with varying degrees of outrage and fascination, portraying Meghan alternately as a cunning mastermind or misunderstood victim. But beyond these conflicting portrayals, Harry grappled privately with an intense emotional reckoning. In the midsection of Engelson's exposé, a particularly vivid anecdote surfaced, recounting a Hollywood event attended by Meghan during their marriage. Trevor described Meghan confidently mingling with actors, directors, and influential producers, openly discussing her aspirations, casually dropping references to her fascination with the British royal family. Friends reportedly teased her, laughing at what they assumed were playful ambitions, but Trevor recalled something else entirely. Behind Meghan's playful banter, Engelson claimed there had always been an undercurrent of unwavering seriousness. She never laughed, Trevor explained to the Netflix cameras, "I sincere and steady." Meghan wasn't joking. She believed wholeheartedly that her destiny was linked to royalty. It wasn't whimsical dreaming, it was her blueprint. Engelson's accounts depicted a Meghan who didn't merely dream of fame and power, but actively pursued it with relentless intent. The image Engelson painted for the world was one of a woman whose every action, every friendship, every career move, had been meticulously choreographed to elevate her closer to royal circles. The Netflix special even went so far as to suggest Meghan had targeted mutual friends to orchestrate her meeting with Harry, knowing he was vulnerable and emotionally open following previous failed relationships. Engelson quoted Meghan directly, recalling private conversations where she mentioned Harry as the perfect candidate, due to his high-profile yet emotional openness, a man she felt would be easily influenced by her carefully cultivated persona. As these words echoed through the media landscape, Harry was forced to confront his deepest insecurities. The man he saw reflected in Engelson's claims, naive, easily manipulated, emotionally fragile, felt painfully familiar. Harry had indeed been vulnerable when he met Meghan, recovering from heartbreak, desperate for stability, aching for love. Engelson's revelations peeled back layers Harry had never openly admitted, even to himself. He felt exposed, humiliated, and above all else, profoundly deceived. Yet, the Netflix special offered more than just painful introspection for Harry. It posed profound implications for his family, his marriage, and his future. If Meghan had indeed pursued a deliberate campaign to secure a royal spouse, what did that mean for their marriage today? Was there genuine love behind Meghan's ambition? Or was their relationship simply another chapter in her strategic rise to global fame? Harry was forced to reconsider every choice they'd made together. The dramatic exit from royal life, the lucrative media deals, and their carefully managed public image. By the special's end, Trevor Engelson appeared somewhat regretful, expressing sympathy for Harry, whom he referred to as a casualty of Meghan's grand ambitions. Engelson concluded the special with a provocative message directed squarely at Harry, a blend of sympathy and stark warning. "Harry, I understand your position more than anyone, but you need to see what I saw. Meghan's dreams aren't about love. They're about legacy, control, and influence. You deserve to know that truth." As the screen faded to black, leaving only silence and reflection, Prince Harry remained motionless, trapped in a maelstrom of thoughts. Netflix had laid bare his most private fears, publicly dissecting his marriage and humiliating his pride. Yet, beyond his personal hurt, a crucial decision loomed ahead. How to respond, how to move forward, and whether to trust his heart or heed Engelson's chilling revelations. The weight of those questions felt almost unbearable, yet Harry knew the answers would define the rest of his life. Harry glanced at Meghan, who sat silently beside him, expression unreadable. In her eyes, he sought reassurance, love, any sign that Engelson's words might be false. But in that tense moment, her gaze held an ambiguity that left him more unsettled than comforted. The Netflix special had shaken him, planted doubts that would persist long after the headlines faded. In the coming days, Harry knew he would have to confront the truths laid out by Trevor Engelson. Whether Engelson's account was completely factual or exaggerated for dramatic effect, the revelation had irrevocably altered Harry's perception of his marriage. His future depended on unraveling the intricate web of ambition, love, and truth woven by the woman he had vowed to cherish. The Netflix special had not just rocked the foundations of Harry's world, it had forced him to question the very nature of trust and authenticity in his marriage. Long before his name became synonymous with explosive revelations and royal scandal, Trevor Engelson was a relatively unknown but ambitious figure quietly navigating the intricacies of Hollywood. Born on October 23, 1976 in Great Neck, New York, Trevor grew up far removed from the glitz and glamour of Beverly Hills. Instead experiencing a modest upbringing that was worlds away from the luxury he would later brush against through his marriage to Meghan Markle. Trevor's early life was ordinary in many respects, but he was always known for his charm, intelligence, and a fierce drive to succeed, qualities that would serve him well in the ruthless entertainment industry. From a young age, Engelson harbored dreams of breaking into Hollywood. Friends and family often recall Trevor as a charismatic storyteller, someone naturally gifted in captivating an audience, a skill he would later leverage as a film producer. After graduating from the University of Southern California's prestigious School of Cinematic Arts, he immediately set out to carve a niche for himself within a competitive landscape. Trevor's early career involved navigating various roles behind the scenes, from low-budget indie productions to television pilots that struggled to gain traction. His first significant breakthrough came when he founded Underground Films, a production company based in Los Angeles. Engelson's ascent in Hollywood was gradual and hard-earned, often involving long nights and relentless networking. Colleagues described Trevor as persistent yet affable, an individual who could maneuver through the complexities of show business with a practiced ease that few newcomers possessed. He understood the intricate dance of negotiation, relationship building, and promotion that Hollywood demanded. By the early 2000s, his reputation began to solidify, establishing Trevor as a dependable figure who could get challenging projects off the ground. Yet, despite these professional strides, Engelson remained relatively anonymous beyond industry circles. A respected producer, yes, but certainly not a household name. It was during this rising career trajectory, amidst the glitz of Los Angeles nightlife, that Trevor's path crossed with Meghan Markle. Their meeting was, by Hollywood standards, unremarkable. A mutual friend introduced them at a party, and sparks flew instantly. Meghan, then an aspiring actress trying desperately to climb Hollywood's ladder, found in Trevor someone who understood her ambition and could potentially guide her career forward. In Trevor, Meghan saw not only romantic companionship but strategic partnership, someone with connections and credibility in an industry she so desperately wished to dominate. Their relationship quickly blossomed into something serious. Friends noted how the couple balanced each other, Trevor, a producer accustomed to working behind the scenes, and Meghan, a vivacious, ambitious performer with grand dreams of becoming a Hollywood A-lister. Trevor embraced Meghan's dreams fully, often spending his own time and resources to help her navigate Hollywood's cutthroat auditions and networking events. His investment in Meghan's aspirations was not merely emotional but deeply practical, believing genuinely in her talent and charisma. Their relationship was characterized by warmth and mutual support, at least initially. Trevor and Meghan's engagement in 2010 was celebrated among their close-knit social circle as a promising union, both romantically and professionally advantageous. In September 2011, the couple married in a picturesque ceremony in Jamaica, attended by friends and family who spoke glowingly about their apparent love and affection. Photographs from their wedding show a couple deeply enamored, smiles wide, hands interlocked, seemingly invincible against whatever Hollywood's challenges might bring. Yet, behind closed doors, the relationship began showing cracks. Trevor's career continued to rise, albeit slowly, while Meghan grew increasingly frustrated with her own stalled acting opportunities. Engelson, in later reflections, admitted that tensions often revolved around Meghan's impatience with the pace of success. His recollections, which surfaced years later in the Netflix tell-all special, painted a picture of Meghan as increasingly preoccupied with status, fame, and influence, far beyond typical Hollywood ambition. Their marriage faced strains common to couples navigating dual careers, but Engelson later recognized signs he initially dismissed. Signs that Meghan's ambitions extended far beyond Hollywood stardom. In the Netflix special, Engelson explained this shift vividly. Meghan wasn't just aiming for Hollywood fame. Her goals were bigger, more global. She talked about royalty, legacy, becoming something historic. Trevor began noticing Meghan's heightened interest in British culture, particularly the British royal family, whom she obsessively followed through books, documentaries, and media reports. He initially thought it harmless, a quirky fascination, but gradually realized Meghan was genuinely positioning herself, mentally and strategically, for a future far beyond anything Hollywood could offer. The realization deeply unsettled Trevor, yet he rationalized it as ambition, harmless fantasy perhaps, until Meghan's fixation intensified. As Trevor recounted in the Netflix special, Meghan began making deliberate social maneuvers, carefully selecting friendships based on proximity to influential, often European circles. Trevor recalled an unsettling clarity in Meghan's eyes whenever the British monarchy was mentioned, joking about her becoming Princess Diana 2.0 with unnerving seriousness. Engelson's Netflix revelations detailed Meghan's research into royal etiquette and protocol, books on royalty left casually around their shared home, subtle yet unmistakable indicators of an ambition Trevor found increasingly troubling. Despite these signs, Engelson continued supporting Meghan professionally, producing projects designed specifically to showcase her talents. Privately, however, doubts about Meghan's sincerity began gnawing at him, though he kept these concerns hidden. Trevor admitted feeling conflicted, unsure if he was witnessing ambition or something darker, more calculated. He loved Meghan and desperately wanted their marriage to succeed, but the growing unease about Meghan's increasingly transparent pursuit of royal connections created emotional distance that became impossible to bridge. Their marriage ultimately unraveled quietly. Meghan secured her breakout role as Rachel Zane on the hit legal drama Suits, filming in Toronto, which further strained their relationship. Long periods apart eroded their intimacy, replaced by awkward silences, terse conversations, and misunderstandings. Trevor's Netflix revelations described Meghan gradually detaching from their marriage, a distancing that became emotionally agonizing. In 2013, the relationship officially ended in divorce, leaving Trevor hurt, bewildered, and emotionally wounded. Although publicly, both maintained an amicable facade. In the years following their split, Engelson watched silently from afar as Meghan ascended rapidly into international fame through her romance with Prince Harry. He remained tight-lipped about his former marriage, maintaining dignity and discretion, refusing countless lucrative opportunities to speak publicly about Meghan. That changed dramatically with the Netflix tell-all, which Engelson explained was prompted by his need to finally share the truth he had long suppressed. Trevor Engelson, a man once content with anonymity, suddenly found himself thrust into the spotlight, not as a Hollywood producer, but as a pivotal figure in a royal scandal. The Netflix documentary transformed him overnight from a minor Hollywood player into a globally recognized voice of authority on Meghan Markle's past. Engelson's decision to speak publicly was framed by Netflix as courageous and revelatory, though critics argued it was opportunistic or vengeful. Trevor, however, insisted his motives were transparent, rooted in a responsibility to speak truthfully about experiences he believed defined Meghan's character. As the documentary unfolded, Engelson presented himself as both credible and sympathetic, a man burdened with difficult truths he had withheld out of loyalty, finally compelled to speak. He understood the gravity of his revelations, knowing the personal and public upheaval his words would cause. Yet, Engelson expressed unwavering certainty in his narrative, believing deeply in the necessity of revealing what he saw as Meghan Markle's strategic, long-term royal ambitions. Thus, Trevor Engelson's journey from an ambitious yet unassuming Hollywood producer to a central figure in a global media firestorm became emblematic of a man whose life and reputation were irrevocably altered by his relationship with Meghan Markle. His revelations resonated not merely because they were shocking, but because they provided unprecedented insights into Meghan's complex character, forever reshaping public perceptions of a woman who had captivated and divided global opinion. Before she became the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle was simply Rachel Meghan Markle, a young woman from Los Angeles with big dreams and an unyielding ambition. Born on August 4, 1981, to Thomas Markle, an Emmy Award-winning lighting director, and Doria Ragland, a social worker and yoga instructor, Meghan was exposed to the world of television and production from an early age. Her father's work on the set of the popular television show Married with Children allowed Meghan a glimpse behind the curtain of Hollywood, igniting her fascination with the entertainment industry. But for those who knew her best, it was clear that Meghan's dreams reached far beyond the bright lights of Los Angeles. Meghan's childhood was marked by privilege and diversity. She attended private schools, including Immaculate Heart High School, an all-girls Catholic school in Los Angeles, where she excelled academically and socially. Friends described her as charismatic, driven, and always eager to stand out. Even at a young age, Meghan exhibited a flair for performance, participating in school plays and talent shows, her confidence growing with each standing ovation. Yet, beneath the polished exterior lay a keen strategist, someone who understood the value of connections and reputation from an early age. Her upbringing was far from ordinary. Through her father's work in television, Meghan rubbed shoulders with actors and industry insiders, often visiting the set of his productions. She saw firsthand how Hollywood operated, an intricate dance of influence, image, and ambition. This exposure shaped her understanding of public perception, teaching her that visibility and relationships were currency in the world she so desperately wanted to join. Meghan did not simply aspire to be an actress. She wanted to be a name that people remembered, someone who commanded respect and admiration. Meghan's ambitions were not limited to Hollywood. In high school, she joined student government, participated in volunteer programs, and cultivated a reputation for leadership. Her teachers noted her determination and her ability to captivate an audience, whether it was in the classroom or on the stage. Meghan's yearbook entries and graduation speeches often hinted at her desire for greatness, not just in the traditional sense, but on a global scale. Her friends would later recall how Meghan would casually mention dreams of making a global impact, of using her platform to change the world. It was not mere teenage idealism, it was a calculated vision of her future. After graduating from high school, Meghan attended Northwestern University in Illinois, majoring in theater and international studies, a dual focus that reflected her broad ambitions. At Northwestern, Meghan continued to build on her natural talents, immersing herself in acting workshops, student productions, and international relations courses. Professors described her as both intellectually curious and fiercely competitive, traits that would later define her rise in the public eye. Meghan's time at university was not just about education, it was about crafting her persona, sharpening her skills, and expanding her network. While many of her classmates were content with weekend parties and local internships, Meghan sought experiences that would set her apart. She interned at the American Embassy in Buenos Aires, an experience that would later be referenced during her royal duties. Meghan's ability to navigate political landscapes with ease and charm impressed her colleagues, showcasing her ability to adapt to powerful environments. It was here that Meghan first began to understand the influence of diplomacy and the power that came with it. She observed the way ambassadors, dignitaries, and political figures wielded their influence, often with nothing more than a well-placed smile or a handshake. Meghan took note. Her time abroad broadened her worldview and deepened her desire to move beyond the limitations of Hollywood stardom. For Meghan, success was never going to be confined to movie screens or television shows. Her ambitions were political, global, and deeply rooted in the idea of legacy. Friends from university remembered her speaking candidly about her aspirations, often joking, though some would later say it was less of a joke, that she wanted to be more than just an actress. Meghan wanted to make history. Following her graduation from Northwestern, Meghan returned to Los Angeles with a renewed sense of purpose. She began the grueling process of auditions and casting calls, fighting for recognition in an industry that was notoriously unforgiving. Meghan's early career was marked by small roles, bit parts in movies like Get Him to the Greek and television series such as CSI: Miami. These appearances were fleeting, her roles often reduced to background characters or one-line performances. Yet Meghan remained undeterred, convinced that her big break was merely a matter of time and persistence. Her first taste of true recognition came with the role of Rachel Zane on the legal drama Suits, a character that showcased Meghan's strengths: poise, elegance, and an undeniable screen presence. As Rachel Zane, Meghan embodied the archetype of the ambitious, savvy paralegal, a role that resonated with audiences and allowed her to showcase her talent on a larger stage. The success of Suits provided Meghan with the visibility she had long craved, granting her access to industry events, interviews, and networking opportunities that would have previously been out of reach. During this period, Meghan also began cultivating her public persona. She launched a lifestyle blog called The Tig, where she shared her thoughts on travel, food, fashion, and empowerment. The blog served as both a creative outlet and a strategic branding tool, positioning Meghan as more than just an actress. She was now an influencer, a voice of sophistication and modernity. Through The Tig, Meghan built a loyal following, engaging with her fans on topics ranging from social justice to female empowerment. Her carefully curated posts reflected not only her interests but her growing understanding of influence and image control. Meghan also began expanding her network beyond Hollywood's confines, attending charity events, joining humanitarian missions, and connecting with political figures and global activists. Her involvement with organizations such as World Vision and UN Women further bolstered her public image, aligning her with causes that resonated with global audiences. Meghan's appearances at international conferences and charity galas were not mere photo opportunities. They were strategic moves designed to elevate her profile and introduce her to powerful circles that extended far beyond Hollywood. Friends from this era would later remark on Meghan's ability to seamlessly adapt to different social settings, her skill at engaging with diplomats, celebrities, and everyday citizens with equal grace and charm. Meghan knew how to work a room, to connect with those who mattered, and to project an image of compassion and poise. But beneath the polished exterior, Trevor Engelson would later reveal, Meghan was always calculating, always strategizing for her next move. According to Engelson's Netflix revelations, it was during this time that Meghan's fascination with royalty took on a new intensity. She reportedly began studying royal protocols, immersing herself in documentaries and biographies of royal family members. Meghan's friends noted her admiration for Princess Diana, a figure she often referenced with both reverence and curiosity. Engelson would later describe Meghan's interest in Diana as bordering on obsession, a fascination that extended beyond admiration and into emulation. Meghan's growing awareness of her brand, her influence, and her public image was a testament to her understanding of legacy. She had always been driven, but now her ambitions were becoming more refined, more strategic. Hollywood was a stepping stone, not the destination. For Meghan, true power lay not in acting, but in influence, the kind that could only be wielded through strategic positioning, careful alliances, and a platform larger than a film or television series could provide. Her marriage to Trevor Engelson had served its purpose, advancing her career and providing her with industry connections. But Meghan's sights were set higher, much higher. Hollywood was simply the beginning. Royalty was the endgame. Her path was clear, her strategy meticulously planned. The world had yet to see the full extent of Meghan Markle's ambitions, but for those who knew her best, it was only a matter of time. Meghan Markle and Trevor Engelson's love story began like many Hollywood romances, a blend of shared ambition, late-night conversations, and mutual dreams of success. They first met in 2004, introduced by mutual friends who recognized their shared drive and common interests. Trevor, a budding film producer with connections in Los Angeles, was instantly captivated by Meghan's charm and relentless ambition. Meghan, equally determined to climb the Hollywood ladder, found in Trevor not only a romantic partner, but a strategic ally in navigating the complexities of the entertainment industry. Their relationship progressed swiftly. Friends of the couple described the early days of their romance as idyllic. They were inseparable, attending industry events, mingling with Hollywood's emerging talent, and planning for a future that included both personal and professional success. Trevor was smitten by Meghan's beauty and ambition, while Meghan was drawn to Trevor's industry connections and understanding of how Hollywood worked. Together, they made a formidable team, united by their shared goals and relentless pursuit of fame. In 2010, after nearly 6 years of dating, Trevor proposed to Meghan with a custom-designed engagement ring. The proposal was a private affair, shared only with close friends and family, but those who witnessed it described it as heartfelt and genuine. Meghan gleefully accepted, and the couple began planning a wedding that would reflect their mutual passion for elegance and exclusivity. Their nuptials took place in September 2011 in a lavish beach ceremony in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. Over 100 guests were invited, many of whom were industry friends and family members who had watched Meghan and Trevor grow both as individuals and as a couple. The wedding weekend was a spectacle of luxury and celebration. Guests were treated to days of festivities, beach parties, and lavish dinners, all set against the backdrop of Jamaica's pristine coastline. Photos from the event captured Meghan and Trevor laughing, dancing, and enjoying the company of their closest friends. Meghan, stunning in a white strapless gown, was the picture of happiness, her smile wide and genuine. Trevor, equally radiant, looked every bit the proud groom. To those in attendance, it seemed as though Meghan and Trevor were destined for a life of success and mutual support. But behind the sunlit images and festive celebrations, cracks had already begun to form. Trevor, who was fully immersed in his work as a film producer, found himself often traveling between Los Angeles and other major cities for projects. Meghan, meanwhile, had secured her role as Rachel Zane on the legal drama Suits, which filmed in Toronto. The geographic separation placed an unexpected strain on their relationship. What had once been effortless now required planning, patience, and constant travel. Meghan's time in Toronto left her largely disconnected from Trevor's life in Los Angeles, and Trevor's own demanding career left him with little time to visit her on set. For a time, they managed the distance with late-night phone calls and weekend visits. Trevor would fly to Toronto when his schedule permitted, bringing with him stories of Hollywood and updates on mutual friends. Meghan, in turn, would share tales of her work on Suits, detailing her rise on the show and the growing opportunities that were beginning to present themselves. They maintained appearances, attending red carpet events together, and projecting an image of stability and partnership. But beneath the surface, their relationship began to fray. Trevor's Netflix revelations provided an unfiltered glimpse into the private struggles of their marriage. According to Engelson, the distance was not merely geographical, it was emotional. Meghan's success on Suits had provided her with a newfound independence, both financially and personally. For the first time, she was living alone in a new city, building her own network, and thriving in a way that did not require Trevor's influence or connections. Engelson described how Meghan's ambitions began to shift, her focus turning increasingly towards her own brand and public image. Their conversations, once filled with dreams of mutual success, became strained, revolving around logistical challenges and growing differences in lifestyle. Engelson recalled moments of frustration, missed calls, canceled visits, and increasing silences. Meghan's schedule became more demanding as Suits gained popularity, while Trevor's projects kept him tied to Los Angeles. Their lives, once so intertwined, began to diverge along separate paths. Engelson confessed that the change was gradual but unmistakable. Meghan became more guarded, less communicative, and increasingly absorbed in her own ambitions. Trevor admitted feeling sidelined, his role as a supportive husband reduced to a distant spectator in Meghan's rise to prominence. The final months of their marriage were marked by tension and unspoken resentment. According to Engelson's account, Meghan's priorities had shifted dramatically. Her interest in Hollywood was increasingly overshadowed by a fascination with global influence and social prestige. Engelson described how Meghan began attending charity events and high-profile galas alone, rubbing shoulders with influential figures and extending her network far beyond the confines of Los Angeles. Trevor, busy with his own career, struggled to understand Meghan's new aspirations. Their communication, once effortless and frequent, became stilted and sporadic. The breaking point came unexpectedly. Engelson revealed in the Netflix special that Meghan's decision to end their marriage was abrupt and final. According to Trevor, Meghan informed him of her decision to divorce via a letter sent through the mail, leaving him blindsided and heartbroken. Engelson confessed that there had been no dramatic argument, no explosive confrontation, just silence and a sudden end to years of shared dreams. Friends of the couple were equally stunned, describing Trevor as devastated and confused by the swiftness of Meghan's decision. To those closest to him, Engelson expressed disbelief that a nearly decade-long relationship could be severed with such detachment. Meghan's reasons for the divorce remained largely private, though Engelson's Netflix special painted a picture of ambition outpacing affection. He described Meghan as increasingly strategic in her decisions, moving with purpose towards her goals, even if it meant leaving behind those who had supported her. Engelson's portrayal of Meghan was not one of malice, but of relentless ambition, a woman determined to rise, regardless of the cost to those around her. In the aftermath of their divorce, Meghan's trajectory only ascended. Her role on Suits continued to flourish, and her public appearances grew more frequent and more strategic. Meghan began engaging with global charities, aligning herself with social justice causes and humanitarian efforts. Trevor, meanwhile, returned to his work in Hollywood, quietly nursing the wounds of a broken marriage. Friends described Trevor as resilient but changed, his trust and relationships deeply impacted by the abruptness of Meghan's departure. Engelson's revelations during the Netflix special were poignant and raw. He spoke of love lost and trust shattered, of supporting someone's dreams only to be left behind when those dreams expanded beyond his own reach. His reflections were neither bitter nor vindictive, but instead tinged with sadness and reflection. Engelson admitted that Meghan's ambitions had always been clear. What he had underestimated was the scope of her aspirations and the length she would go to achieve them. The Netflix documentary framed Engelson's experience as both a cautionary tale and a deeper understanding of Meghan's calculated rise. His account provided a window into Meghan's strategic planning, her focus on legacy and global influence long before her path crossed with Prince Harry. Engelson's perspective was raw and unfiltered, his pain evident but his honesty unyielding. He spoke not just of a marriage that failed but of a partnership that was always part of a larger plan. one that Meghan had crafted with precision and pursued with relentless focus. For Trevor Engelson, the end of his marriage marked not just the loss of a partner, but the revelation of a greater ambition. An ambition that would soon propel Meghan Markle onto the world stage, reshaping not just her own life but the very fabric of the British monarchy itself. Trevor Engelson's Netflix tell-all special sent shockwaves through both Hollywood and royal circles, but perhaps the most staggering revelation was his recollection of Meghan Markle's often repeated phrase, Princess Diana 2.0. Engelson claimed that long before Meghan ever met Prince Harry, she had expressed a fascination with the British royal family that bordered on obsession. It was not simply admiration for the monarchy's grandeur or its historic significance, it was something far more personal and strategic. Meghan allegedly spoke with friends and colleagues about her desire to emulate Diana, not just in terms of her global influence, but in the way she captured the public's imagination and sympathy. For Meghan, Diana was more than just a tragic royal. She was a blueprint for achieving global admiration and influence. The first time Engelson heard the phrase Princess Diana 2.0, he brushed it off as playful banter. Meghan had casually mentioned it during a dinner party, surrounded by friends from the industry. They had been discussing celebrity influence and global recognition, and Meghan, with a glass of wine in hand, smiled confidently and remarked that she could envision herself as a modern-day Diana. Laughter filled the room, the idea seemingly absurd, but Meghan remained composed, her smile unwavering. Engelson, at the time, found it charming, a display of Meghan's confidence and ambition. But as the years progressed, Trevor began to see that the statement was far more than just playful musing. Engelson recalled that Meghan's fascination with Diana was deeply rooted and well-researched. Their shared apartment was often filled with books about the late princess, documentaries playing in the background, and magazine clippings that Meghan kept organized and readily available. Trevor described her as someone who studied Diana not only as a public figure but as a strategist. Meghan seemed particularly fascinated by how Diana used her platform for philanthropy, her ability to connect emotionally with the public, and her mastery of media presence. According to Trevor, Meghan saw Diana as the epitome of influence, someone who had transcended royalty to become a global icon. It was this legacy that Meghan allegedly aspired to emulate, long before she ever set foot in the United Kingdom. Trevor's revelations cast Meghan's career moves in a new light. He described how Meghan's rise was not simply the product of talent and luck but of meticulous planning and positioning. Engelson recalled several instances where Meghan would intentionally seek out high-profile charity events, aligning herself with causes that mirrored Diana's own philanthropic efforts. Animal rights, children's welfare, global poverty. Meghan immersed herself in these causes with a determination that, to those around her, appeared genuine. But Engelson's account suggested a deeper motivation, one that extended beyond altruism and into the realm of legacy building. During her time on Suits, Meghan's profile began to grow, and with it, so did her involvement in social justice and humanitarian projects. Trevor remembered how Meghan would frequently reference Diana during these moments, pointing out how the princess had been universally loved for her charity work and her emotional openness. Meghan spoke often of Diana's humanitarian missions, how she held the hands of AIDS patients at a time when society recoiled in fear, how she visited war-torn countries, and how she used her voice to champion the voiceless. Meghan admired Diana's ability to humanize royalty, to transcend tradition, and to command empathy on a global scale. Engelson described how Meghan began positioning herself to be seen as more than just an actress. She volunteered with United Nations Women, became a global ambassador for World Vision, and made several humanitarian trips to places like Rwanda. Engelson admitted that at the time, he admired her passion and drive, believing it was rooted in a genuine desire to make a difference. But after their divorce, Trevor confessed that he began to see those moves as strategic, each calculated to craft an image that mirrored Diana's legacy. According to Engelson, Meghan's fascination with Diana was not just aspirational, it was tactical. The Netflix special featured interviews with former friends and colleagues who corroborated Engelson's claims. One of Meghan's friends from her Suits days recounted a conversation where Meghan openly mused about her future. "One day, I'm going to be the most famous woman in the world," Meghan had allegedly said. When asked how she planned to achieve that, Meghan responded with a smile and a simple phrase, "I have my ways." It was a statement that, at the time, seemed whimsical and lighthearted, but in retrospect, her friend admitted, it felt more like a declaration of intent. Another acquaintance who attended social events with Meghan recalled her conversations often gravitating towards Diana and the monarchy. She would bring it up casually, like it was just part of everyday conversation, the source revealed during the Netflix special. I remember her saying once that if you want real influence, you don't become a star, you become a princess. These accounts, coupled with Engelson's first-hand experiences, painted a portrait of Meghan as someone who meticulously mapped out her path, long before she crossed the Atlantic and into Harry's life. Trevor Engelson's revelations did not stop at simple admiration. He claimed that Meghan had even researched royal protocols and the intricacies of British nobility while they were still married. She would reportedly spend hours watching documentaries about the royal family, reading articles on British etiquette, and studying biographies of key figures within the monarchy. Engelson described it as an obsession that grew steadily during the last year of their marriage. Meghan's conversations increasingly included references to British customs, the royal order of succession, and even speculation about the political influence wielded by the monarchy. The Netflix special went further, providing interviews with a former colleague of Meghan's who revealed that during networking events, Meghan would often angle conversations towards British socialites and European aristocrats. According to the colleague, Meghan seemed particularly interested in learning about the dynamics of high society gatherings, how titles were inherited, and which circles held the most influence. It was like she was preparing for something, the colleague remarked during the documentary. She wasn't just interested, she was studying. Engelson described how, in their final year of marriage, Meghan's ambitions became more pronounced and more strategic. She began attending more high-profile charity events alone, making connections that Trevor admitted he found unusual for an actress on a cable television show. Meghan's friendships began to shift, her social circles broadening to include figures who moved in political and philanthropic spheres. Engelson recalled attending dinners where Meghan would dominate conversations about global issues, expertly maneuvering dialogue towards international relations and humanitarian crises. The Netflix special concluded this segment with a chilling reflection from Engelson. Meghan always knew where she was going. Being on Suits wasn't the endgame. It was a stepping stone, a platform to get her closer to where she truly wanted to be. She told me once, if you want to change the world, you can't just be famous, you have to be powerful. I didn't understand what she meant back then. Now, I do. Engelson's words hung heavy in the air, a stark revelation that reframed the public's understanding of Meghan's journey. In the aftermath of the documentary's release, media outlets scrambled to dissect Engelson's claims. Tabloids ran headlines questioning Meghan's motivations, while royal commentators speculated about the truth behind Engelson's stories. Was Meghan's path to royalty a strategic ascent plan long before she met Harry? Had she always intended to position herself as the next Diana, leveraging global sympathy and influence to cement her legacy? These questions lingered, casting a shadow over Meghan's public persona and igniting debates about authenticity, ambition, and legacy. Trevor Engelson's account of the Princess Diana 2.0 remarks served as a critical turning point in how the world viewed Meghan Markle's rise. No longer was she seen simply as an actress who had fallen in love with a prince. Engelson's perspective suggested something far more intricate, a calculated rise to royalty, mapped out with precision and executed with unwavering ambition. The world watched closely, wondering what revelations would come next, and whether Engelson's warnings were only the beginning. Trevor Engelson's revelations about Meghan Markle's ambitions did not end with her fascination with Princess Diana. During the Netflix tell-all, Engelson described Meghan as a master strategist, someone who not only dreamed of royalty but actively maneuvered her way towards it. According to Engelson, Meghan's path was not one of coincidence or mere luck. It was carefully orchestrated, built step by step through strategic networking, calculated relationships, and deliberate positioning within elite social circles. In Hollywood, Meghan quickly learned that success was not just about talent, it was about connections. Engelson recalled that Meghan had a natural ability to identify powerful individuals in any room she entered. Whether it was a charity gala, a Hollywood party, or a business dinner, Meghan knew precisely who she needed to speak with, often gravitating towards producers, executives, and influential socialites. Trevor described her as someone who could seamlessly insert herself into conversations, effortlessly charming those around her while subtly gathering information about their status, connections, and potential use in her broader plans. Meghan's networking skills were not limited to Hollywood's confines. Engelson recalled that Meghan would often attend high-profile events, sometimes without him, mingling with politicians, activists, and global philanthropists. She aligned herself with international organizations like World Vision and UN Women, crafting an image that transcended acting and ventured into global advocacy. Trevor admitted that at the time, he found Meghan's dedication admirable, convinced that she genuinely wanted to make a difference. But in retrospect, Engelson saw it differently. He described it as deliberate positioning, a strategic alignment with causes that would elevate her profile and connect her with influential figures. Engelson's Netflix special detailed specific instances where Meghan's strategic planning became evident. He recounted a charity event in Beverly Hills where Meghan had meticulously researched the guest list beforehand. She knew exactly who she wanted to meet and had prepared conversational points for each key figure. Trevor admitted being both impressed and slightly unsettled by Meghan's ability to navigate these events with such precision. According to Engelson, Meghan's charm was not just natural, it was honed, deliberate, and unwaveringly focused on establishing connections that could further her ambitions. In particular, Meghan targeted those with ties to European aristocracy. Engelson described how she would actively seek out guests who had connections to British nobility or influential circles in Europe. Her conversations with these individuals were always polite but probing, subtly steering dialogue towards life in England, the structure of the aristocracy, and royal protocols. Meghan's fascination with the idea of royalty was not mere admiration. It was a tactical interest that Engelson only came to fully understand after their divorce. Trevor recalled one particular event that stuck with him. Meghan had been invited to a charity gala in London, an invitation she eagerly accepted. Engelson, tied up with work commitments in Los Angeles, was unable to attend, but Meghan went alone. When she returned, Trevor noted a change in her demeanor. She spoke at length about the people she had met, lords, ladies, and even distant relatives of the royal family. Meghan described the evening with a gleam of excitement, detailing the conversations she had and the impression she believed she had made. Engelson admitted that it was the first time he realized Meghan's ambitions extended beyond Hollywood and into a realm that was far more strategic and grandiose. Meghan's calculated social maneuvers did not stop at events. Engelson revealed that she would frequently host gatherings at their Los Angeles home, inviting a curated list of guests, those with connections, influence, or knowledge that could potentially further her ambitions. Meghan's ability to bring together powerful people in casual settings allowed her to build relationships outside the scrutiny of public events. Trevor recalled these gatherings with a sense of admiration and disbelief. Meghan seemed to have a natural ability to charm her guests, creating an atmosphere of warmth and openness that encouraged connections and mutual support. Her lifestyle blog, The Tig, became another platform for Meghan to expand her influence. Disguised as a lifestyle brand, the blog allowed Meghan to connect with influential women in media, politics, and entertainment. Her posts often highlighted her involvement in social justice causes, travel experiences, and personal reflections, all framed in a way that subtly positioned her as a global ambassador for change. Through The Tig, Meghan cultivated relationships with key influencers, using her platform to spotlight issues that would elevate her public image while aligning her with global humanitarian efforts. Engelson admitted that at the time, he admired Meghan's drive. Her ability to network, to connect with powerful figures, and to craft a public image that extended beyond acting was something he found genuinely impressive. But as time went on, Trevor began to realize that Meghan's ambitions were not merely about advancing her acting career, they were about transcending it. Engelson described how Meghan would often express frustration with Hollywood's limitations, lamenting the superficiality of the industry and her desire to make a larger impact on a global scale. Meghan's strategic ascent did not go unnoticed by her peers. Former friends and colleagues interviewed during the Netflix special described Meghan as someone who always had a plan, someone who knew precisely where she wanted to go and how she intended to get there. A former friend from her Suits days recounted how Meghan would often speak about the power of influence, not just in Hollywood, but globally. She spoke about political influence, charitable influence, and how those with the right platform could shape narratives and command respect on a global scale. Engelson recounted conversations where Meghan spoke openly about her fascination with the British royal family. He described how she would reference documentaries about Diana and how she admired the way Diana had used her position for global humanitarian work. Meghan's conversations often included musings about what it would be like to have that kind of influence, to be able to affect real change on a global scale. Engelson admitted that at the time, he saw it as mere ambition, an actress dreaming beyond the confines of her current situation. But in retrospect, Trevor confessed that Meghan's aspirations were far more calculated than he had initially understood. Meghan's time on Suits served as a launching pad for her ambitions, providing her with the visibility and platform she needed to expand her network. Engelson described how Meghan began attending international events, not just as an actress, but as a spokesperson for global causes. She strategically aligned herself with women's rights organizations, global poverty initiatives, and international summits. Engelson described this phase of Meghan's life as a deliberate move to position herself as more than just an actress. She was becoming a global figure, a voice for change, and someone who seemed destined for something far greater than Hollywood could offer. Trevor's Netflix special concluded this segment with a reflection on Meghan's ability to climb social ladders with precision and purpose. He described her as someone who never entered a room unprepared, someone who always knew who mattered, and who made a point to leave an impression. Engelson admitted that it took him years to understand the full extent of Meghan's strategy, but looking back, he recognized the pattern. Meghan's rise was not the result of mere fortune or coincidence. It was meticulously crafted, each connection serving as another rung on the ladder towards global influence. Trevor's words painted a picture of Meghan as someone whose ambitions extended far beyond the silver screen, someone who saw her acting career as merely the first step towards something far grander. For Engelson, the realization was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Meghan's strategy was undeniable, her trajectory planned with a clarity and precision that left little room for doubt. She was not just an actress with dreams of fame, she was a strategist with a blueprint for global influence, one that was carefully crafted long before she ever met Prince Harry. Trevor Engelson's revelations in the Netflix tell-all special peeled back yet another layer of Meghan Markle's calculated rise to prominence. Beyond the strategic social climbing and deliberate networking, Engelson revealed that Meghan had, long before meeting Prince Harry, immersed herself in the intricate details of royal protocol. According to Trevor, Meghan's fascination with royalty was not simply a casual interest. It was methodical, deliberate, and deeply researched. Engelson described instances where Meghan would spend hours poring over books about the British monarchy, studying documentaries on royal life, and analyzing the role of royal spouses. It was, as Trevor put it, an education in royalty, one that Meghan undertook with the seriousness of someone preparing for a role. Engelson remembered vividly the stacks of books Meghan kept neatly arranged in their shared home. Titles such as Diana, Her True Story, The Royals, and the Diana Chronicles filled their shelves, their spines well-worn from frequent use. Meghan didn't merely read these books, she studied them. Trevor recalled how she would highlight sections, jot down notes, and occasionally bring up passages during dinner conversations. Engelson admitted that, at the time, he found it endearing, a sign of Meghan's intellectual curiosity and fascination with global figures. But in hindsight, Trevor saw it differently. He described it as preparation, a deliberate effort to understand not just the public-facing aspects of royalty, but the unspoken rules and protocols that governed life behind palace walls. Meghan's research extended far beyond mere biographies. Engelson revealed that she also studied royal etiquette, the nuanced rules that dictated behavior during formal engagements, public appearances, and interactions with heads of state. Meghan would spend hours watching archival footage of royal events, observing how Queen Elizabeth II would greet dignitaries, how Princess Diana would navigate walkabouts, and how Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, would carry herself during state dinners. Trevor described Meghan's attention to detail as almost obsessive. She noted everything, the way curtsies were performed, the appropriate distance to maintain during royal greetings, and the specific hand gestures used during public addresses. Engelson admitted that Meghan's immersion in royal protocols initially seemed like a harmless fascination. But as time passed, her interest became more intense. Meghan began attending etiquette classes, discreetly held at private venues in Los Angeles, where she learned the art of formal dining, the proper way to address royalty, and the intricate rules of aristocratic behavior. Trevor remembered the invitations Meghan would receive to private dinners and charity galas, events where she could practice these newly acquired skills among the elite. Meghan moved through these circles with practiced grace, her movements polished, and her conversation always directed towards topics of international affairs and global influence. Meghan's attention to detail extended even further. Engelson recalled how she would practice her walk in their living room, carefully balancing books on her head to perfect her posture. She would insist on proper table settings during dinners, correcting minor mistakes with a polite but firm hand. Trevor described it as living with someone who was constantly rehearsing for a role she had yet to be cast in. Meghan's commitment to mastering these skills was relentless, and Engelson admitted that it was both impressive and bewildering. At the time, he believed it was simply Meghan's desire to be well-versed in high society. But in retrospect, Trevor saw it for what it truly was: preparation for royalty. Engelson described one particularly vivid memory. Meghan had convinced him to attend a high-society charity dinner in Los Angeles, an event that promised an array of influential guests, including members of European aristocracy. Meghan spent days preparing for the event. She researched the guest list meticulously, learning about their backgrounds, their titles, and their affiliations. She practiced her introductions, rehearsing the proper way to address those with titles like Duke, Baroness, and Lord. Trevor recalled how Meghan's confidence at the event was palpable. She moved through the crowd with an ease that belied her Hollywood roots, engaging in conversations about global politics and European history with a fluency that left Trevor both impressed and slightly uneasy. It was during this time that Engelson began to see Meghan's ambitions extend beyond Hollywood. Her fascination with royalty, once endearing, now seemed almost strategic. Trevor described how Meghan would casually reference European traditions, British customs, and royal etiquette in everyday conversation. It was as though she was conditioning herself for a life she had not yet attained, preparing for a role she believed was within her grasp. Trevor admitted that, in hindsight, Meghan's actions were not the whimsical musings of a dreamer, but the calculated steps of someone with a clear and deliberate path. According to Engelson, Meghan's interest in British culture extended to political structures as well. She studied the hierarchy of nobility, learning the difference between titles such as Duke, Earl, and Baron. She familiarized herself with British parliamentary processes, the significance of state visits, and the role of the royal family in global diplomacy. Trevor recounted evenings where Meghan would watch parliamentary debates online, her eyes fixed on the screen as she absorbed the nuances of British politics. Engelson confessed that it was around this time he began to realize that Meghan's ambitions were far more expansive than he had originally thought. Meghan's social network also began to reflect her growing ambitions. Engelson described how Meghan gradually shifted her social circle, aligning herself with diplomats, European socialites, and philanthropists who moved within international circles. Trevor remembered feeling proud of her ability to connect with influential figures, but he also sensed a growing distance between them. Meghan's conversations became more guarded, her ambitions less transparent. Engelson described how Meghan would often disappear for charity events and diplomatic functions, returning with stories of influential contacts she had made and the global initiatives she was now a part of. As Meghan's ambitions grew, Engelson admitted feeling increasingly sidelined. Their marriage, once built on mutual dreams of Hollywood success, now seemed like a stepping stone for Meghan's larger plans. Trevor described feeling as though he was living with someone preparing for a role he did not understand, rehearsing lines for a performance that had not yet been announced. He confessed that there were moments of tension, arguments over her relentless networking, her growing obsession with protocol, and her constant attendance at charity functions far removed from their Hollywood life. The Netflix special captured Engelson's reflections with raw honesty. He described Meghan's rise as both remarkable and unsettling, her determination unwavering, her strategy methodical. Trevor's portrayal was not one of bitterness, but of realization that Meghan had been preparing for royalty long before she ever met Harry. Engelson's perspective suggested that Meghan's ascent was not a fairy tale love story, but the culmination of years of calculated preparation, strategic alliances, and relentless ambition. Meghan's understanding of royal protocol became evident during her early appearances with Prince Harry. Those who had followed her career noted the seamlessness with which she adapted to the expectations of royal life. Her posture, her mannerisms, and her engagement with dignitaries were polished and practiced. Meghan's ability to step into the role of Duchess of Sussex with such ease did not come as a surprise to Engelson. It was simply the realization of a plan he had watched her build, piece by piece, for years. Engelson's account left audiences stunned, painting Meghan as not just ambitious but meticulously prepared. Trevor's reflections raised questions about authenticity and intent, challenging the narrative that Meghan had simply fallen in love with a prince and embraced royal life. According to Engelson, Meghan's rise was anything but accidental. It It was the execution of a vision she had long held, supported by years of research, networking, and strategic positioning. In Engelson's eyes, Meghan had always known where she was going. Her fascination with royalty, her mastery of protocol, and her calculated social climbing were all part of a larger plan, one that culminated in her becoming a member of the British royal family. For Trevor, the revelations were both enlightening and heartbreaking, a window into the woman he once loved and the ambitions that ultimately drove them apart. The first time Meghan Markle met Prince Harry, the world was introduced to what seemed like a fairy tale romance. The narrative was simple yet captivating. An American actress meets a British prince, they fall in love, and the rest is history. But Trevor Engelson's Netflix revelations suggested that this meeting was far from the accidental, serendipitous encounter it had been portrayed as. According to Engelson, Meghan's path to Harry was paved with deliberate strategy, calculated networking, and years of preparation. Engelson described Meghan's growing fascination with the British aristocracy long before she met Harry. She had studied royal protocols, mastered the art of etiquette, and ingrained herself in circles that brought her closer to European elites. According to Trevor, Meghan had expressed interest in meeting British nobility as far back as 2013, during her early days on Suits. Engelson recalled conversations where Meghan would casually mention her admiration for European traditions and her curiosity about the lives of dukes and duchesses. At the time, Trevor brushed off these comments as mere fascination, but in hindsight, he saw them as stepping stones toward a larger plan. Meghan's entrance into London society was not entirely coincidental. Engelson detailed how she began making frequent trips to the United Kingdom during her time on Suits, ostensibly for work or charity events. However, Trevor admitted that Meghan often sought out events that were attended by aristocrats and high society figures. Engelson described these trips as networking excursions, where Meghan would leverage her status as an actress to gain entry into exclusive parties and social gatherings. Her charm and polished demeanor allowed her to seamlessly integrate into these circles, forging connections that would later prove instrumental. Trevor also described how Meghan began cultivating relationships with British journalists and photographers, subtly building a presence in UK media even before she had met Harry. She would attend charity events, mingle with European aristocrats, and make appearances at high-profile social gatherings, all while strategically positioning herself within influential circles. Engelson admitted that Meghan's connections in London grew rapidly, her name increasingly appearing in society columns and tabloid features. According to Trevor, Meghan seemed to know exactly who she needed to meet and precisely how to get their attention. In the Netflix special, Engelson provided an account of Meghan's first introduction to Prince Harry. Contrary to the widely accepted narrative of a blind date set up by mutual friends, Trevor suggested that Meghan had strategically positioned herself within social circles that would make such an introduction possible. Engelson described how Meghan's trips to London had intensified in the year leading up to her meeting Harry, with her focus shifting from Hollywood networking to British social climbing. Trevor even recounted conversations where Meghan would reference Prince Harry as the ultimate catch, not simply because of his status, but because of his perceived vulnerability and global influence. Meghan's encounter with Harry was, according to Engelson, far from spontaneous. He claimed that Meghan had meticulously researched Harry before their first meeting. She knew his charitable interests, his passions, and even his past relationships. Engelson described Meghan as someone who prepared for every interaction with precision, often researching people's backgrounds before meeting them to ensure she could engage them with ease and familiarity. Her knowledge of Harry's charity work and his involvement with veterans allowed her to connect with him on subjects that he was passionate about. Engelson described this as Meghan's greatest strength, her ability to make someone feel uniquely understood and valued. Their first date, held at Soho House in London, was reportedly marked by an immediate connection. Harry, captivated by Meghan's confidence and charm, later described the evening as transformative. Meghan, who had spent years perfecting her knowledge of British etiquette and royal protocols, moved through the evening with grace and ease. Harry, who was known for his down-to-earth nature, found Meghan's ability to navigate both formal and informal settings refreshing. Engelson recounted how Meghan would later describe that evening to friends as the beginning of something big. According to Trevor, Meghan's confidence in her connection with Harry was absolute, as if she had known this moment would arrive all along. The relationship progressed quickly. Within weeks, Harry and Meghan were seen together publicly, their romance splashed across the tabloids. Their whirlwind romance was presented as a storybook love affair, with headlines celebrating the unlikely union of a Hollywood actress and a British prince. But Engelson's account painted a different picture. According to Trevor, Meghan's relationship with Harry followed the same calculated strategy she had employed throughout her life. She leveraged her role as Harry's girlfriend to expand her network, connecting with political figures, charity organizers, and influential members of British society. Engelson admitted that Meghan's mastery of social navigation was unlike anything he had seen before. Engelson described how Meghan seemed to transform almost overnight. Her wardrobe became more refined, her public appearances more polished, and her conversations more globally conscious. Meghan aligned herself with humanitarian causes, attended international summits, and began engaging with world leaders. Trevor described this transformation as strategic rather than organic. According to Engelson, Meghan knew that her relationship with Harry was her gateway to global influence, and she wasted no time in maximizing its potential. Harry, who had always been vocal about his desire for privacy, seemed enchanted by Meghan's confidence and poise. Their relationship progressed rapidly, with Meghan moving into Nottingham Cottage at Kensington Palace within months of their first date. Engelson described this transition as almost seamless. Meghan adapted to royal life with astonishing ease, her years of preparation serving her well. According to Trevor, Meghan's ability to navigate royal protocols, her familiarity with British customs, and her knowledge of charity work were no accident. They were the culmination of years of study and careful planning. As their relationship deepened, Meghan's public persona evolved. She began speaking at charity events, representing organizations, and engaging with the media in a manner that mirrored the grace and poise of a seasoned royal. Engelson recounted how Meghan's transition into royal life appeared almost effortless, as if she had been preparing for it her entire life. Trevor described this as the ultimate execution of Meghan's strategic planning, a vision that had been set in motion long before she had even met Harry. Their engagement, announced in November 2017, was celebrated worldwide. Meghan's entrance into the royal family was heralded as a modern-day fairy tale and American actress turned duchess. But Engelson's perspective challenged that narrative, suggesting instead that Meghan's rise was the result of a meticulously crafted strategy, executed with precision and determination. Engelson confessed that watching Meghan's ascent was both surreal and enlightening. He admitted to underestimating her ambition, her ability to network, and her understanding of influence. According to Trevor, Meghan's connection with Harry was not just love, it was the realization of a long-held plan, executed with the precision of a strategist. As the Netflix special came to a close, Engelson reflected on the trajectory of Meghan's life. He described her as someone who had always known where she was going, who had always seen the world not just as it was, but as it could be if navigated correctly. Meghan's journey from Hollywood to Buckingham Palace was, according to Engelson, no accident. It was the manifestation of years of strategic planning, deliberate networking, and calculated relationships. For Trevor, it was a revelation that reshaped his understanding of their time together and redefined the public's perception of Meghan's rise to royalty. Engelson's perspective introduced a new lens through which to view the royal romance, not as a story of destiny or fate, but of preparation and ambition. Meghan's relationship with him